I can't remember if it was day or night when we left. We hauled all our possessions out of the house, down the narrow stairway, and onto the street. You weren't speaking to me, but we were moving together in tacit understanding. What I always remember were the days leading up to our departure, the series of dramatic moments unfolding into each other, carrying forward a hysterical impulse, portending an inevitable end. I remember the night before spent opening every zipper of my purse, checking every pocket, digging my fingers into the fabric. It was winter when we left for Recupera. The internet flickered. Our teeth chattered. I remember the ice coating the surfaces of the city more than I remember being cold. Dear sister, since Recupera, life in Colorado has felt slow. I feel like I'm in a 19th century novel out in the countryside getting well, but a more rustic Wild West version. The wind rips through the canyon and shakes the cabin. The woods, their space and hollow, offer me a clearance to get myself together and write. In your last email, you put the noun sister before my name, as if I were a nun in a monastery or fighting in a revolution. I write to you as if you are we, as if we are the same. It is you that falls and scrapes your knee, but I that bears your scar. I fell into the pond where the turtle bit your hand. Yesterday, I called to see if you felt better. I left you a message, which I'm sure you haven't listened to, about this piece I'm writing in which you and I are the same. Our bodies are pliant and we shift into each other, morphing. Anyway, do let me know how you're feeling. Love, Emma. February 4th, 2018, 6:59 p.m. Subject, hello the fuck.
Dear Sister Emma, this is Andrea Rhodes. You may know me as Andy, Patandi, or another form. I was wondering if you could fucking call me. Hope you're well. I hear you're not. This concerns me. Many thanks, Andrea, your fucking sister.
You say that when one doesn't feel well, they should always wear more makeup. When I ask why, you respond that you think of makeup as a kind of protective barrier that keeps all the bad shit from coming in. We lean our phones against the wall and you give me a makeup tutorial over FaceTime. The screen is the wall we tapped on when our bedrooms were adjacent, and I have caught your pain, so in response we adorn our bodies. Your career as a makeup artist started with a desire to shock people. You wanted to make gory objects, monstered creations, and got that job in a studio in LA producing wounds and prosthetics. Really, your artistic process and interest in prosthesis began much earlier as a childhood hobby. You used to make casts, cover your body in plaster to build artificial limbs, form molds to practice the making of wounds. As we aged, you left pieces of yourself scattered around our various childhood homes, different parts of your body in every nook and cranny. Your ear, teeth, lips, hand. I expected a limb to protrude each time I opened a drawer. Made throughout your life, they weren't part of a cohesive project, but just something that you did. You gave them away as gifts, mostly to me, and carrying pieces of you with me each time I moved to a new place, they've since adorned every room I've lived in. As part of my ritual of unpacking, I unwrap your teeth and place them on the bookshelf. In the first months of living here, I barely left the cabin. I would descend the mountains in order to buy food or attend the occasional lecture, meet with a childhood friend, but mostly I was secluded. During the years I've spent in Colorado, your fragmented body has kept me company, sister. The pieces are silent, as if in their severance the life had drained out, the lack of color in the plaster of further disavowal of life. But despite their lack of animation, they've witnessed my writing, my process, my living. Your bottom teeth I keep in a junk drawer beside my bedside table. You were 16 when the cast was made. Now your teeth have eroded, ground to stumps in your sleep. You've encased them in gold, covered the chips with shine, coated over the decay. You love the way grills look and decided to get diamonds and jewels glued onto your canines. Your fascination with cosmetic adjustments continually evolving, the cast capturing moments of a body in constant transformation, serving as a technology of memory, recording fragments of time. Each cast recalls your body in a specific temporality, serving as a tangible object, a memory aid, a record, a ghost. The casts become altered reproductions of the current manifestation, shifting between negative and positive. You enact a process of documentation, creating a corporeal archive. I've become its custodian. The casts were never meant to be put on display, but rather impulses you materialized and left scattered. One day, moved by the realization that they had become an implicit part of my daily routine, I gathered them and took photographs. I started my catalog. I run my tongue over my teeth and feel the topography of my inner landscape. In a recurring dream, my teeth fall out, crumble, shatter. I wake up and write it down. I place the mold of your teeth on top and use it as a paperweight. In those months of nightmares and panic, a lingering residue or part of the process of recovery, there was a sense of calm I found through repetition, the act of hypnagogic writing followed by placing your teeth on top of the words, as if the weight might keep them tethered. The plaster chips in places. I move the teeth outside and lay them in the pine needles. I take some 20 steps back and turn to find they blend in with the landscape, the white of animal bone. My ritual of writing includes taking breaks to pace around the living room, staring at nothing steeped in thought. On the mantel above the fireplace, your doubled hand beckons, and I brush against the tips of your fingers absent-mindedly, placing mine gently against yours. The cast of your hand, the contour of the veins so familiar, the width of the finger and shape of their form evocative of your candor. The tips of your fingers are chipped, the fissures in the plaster fossils of darker times, when they shook from withdrawal, turned black, turned blue. The white cast remains cracked, but objects can be repaired. Stories shoulder the unforeseeable. We unlearn the techniques to ingest our drugs and traded in our utensils. Your cast hand fraternizes with my hush. It silently remains severed both from your body and from time, becoming an event out of time, a pocket into the past. Despite the different modalities of transport and many journeys it's been on, it hasn't decomposed but remains intact, a relic. Your artifact hand is fragile, and I transport it tenderly, supporting it with wads of tissue so it stands up in a shoebox, so that it doesn't bounce in the back of my truck and end up a pile of shards, half a finger, a piece of wrist. Your natural hands are more resilient than the silent white plaster. They speak in loud gestures. They move with your rhythm of improvisation, ringing with worry. Your nails nod to the flesh. Laden with rings of gold and onyx, they move to punctuate your flow of thought. As I watch them move and choreograph your thinking, I consider a theory of punctuation based on the interrupting gestures of your body, an improvised movement with its own idiosyncratic motions and commas, a pre-Socratic rhythm punctuating your conversational flow. Some days, I pick up your hand off the mantel and holding it in my grip, move and gesticulate as if it were an extension of my own body. I show a draft of this manuscript to a few friends, and they tell me that it feels like I'm writing an elegy even though you're not dead. The first tattoo you ever got was a black and white detailed portrait of my face covering your entire forearm. I look back over my shoulder, my hair pinned around my face. A seemingly elegiac depiction of a loved one. People often ask you how I passed. The tattoo evokes a lament. I wonder what it is that makes us treat each other this way, why we insist on eternalizing one another, why we praise each other with a devotion usually reserved for the dead, why each time I play a song on the piano you cry as if it were a dirge, why you keep refusing to read this manuscript. She has read it by now. In Colorado, time moves at strange speeds. Sometimes I write for hours, sometimes for minutes. Both increments feel equal, approximate. I enter an atemporal space and get lost in thought staring into the pines, watching a carbon black crow loiter on the banister. Sister, your ear sits on my coffee table, eternalized. Sometimes I pick it up by the lobe and move it onto another stack of books where it rings patiently. It folds and curves upon itself, a covert organ of balance. Your left ear, usually ornamented with gold hoops of different sizes, punctured along the rim, lays bare and gray. When you come to visit, we talk about reproducing it, along with other cast appendages, placing and arranging them in the woods to create an optical illusion, a graveyard of body parts decomposing into the earth, hidden by leaves, grown over with lichen and moss. We are both always one and always many. We are similar and also split. Sometimes we finish each other's sentences, sometimes we speak together when we speak to each other, sometimes we don't speak for weeks, maybe a month, but you always inform the words I make. They are pliant, they bend and move and roll around in my mouth, over my tongue, my throat opens before they leave my lips. Yours you paint purple, orange, rouge. You outline, contour, and apply thick colors as if they were a convex canvas. The cast of your lips is so exact that I almost wait for them to open, but they sit on my bookshelf and remain pressed. Sometimes I imagine what they would say if they parted, how they would engage in dialogue with the texts they live among. The anticipation of your voice is so near, I can almost hear it. Our lips part open and things enter and exit our bodies. They wrapped around our tools as we ingested our drugs. Sometimes I think my body wanted to die but was so numb it couldn't discern between a death wish and hedonism. Or maybe it didn't want to die, but it was dying and trying to tell me I just wouldn't listen. I've spent so much time wondering what happened, what was broken, and led to those harrowing limits. Under those conditions of unfeeling, there was no listening to my body except to feed it with more drugs when it cried out in shivers, then suffer the side effects of what kept it alive. I felt nauseous and sick all of the time. Did you feel the same? We never talked about it, just put on music and swayed around our rooms while our skin grayed. I'm constantly mourning little deaths. With each transformation your body has gone through, I miss the previous incarnation. With each new tattoo you get, I mourn your innocent skin. With each gory wound you fabricate, I grieve an imaginary flesh. Each time you apply your makeup, I wish your bare face would come through. The lament lives with me. The casts I arrange in my house memorializing your younger selves, little altars to your transformations and my own. Thank you.